Hello there everybody, Sam's Trains here. Welcome back to the Railway and welcome back to the Model Railway news for May. I hope you're all doing well, enjoying the sunshine, etc. and I hope you're all ready for a massive episode. I think last month things were maybe a little bit quieter. This month though we are back with a bang and we've got everything this month. We've got new tooled announcements, we've got massive updates on existing announcements, loads and loads to get through. So sit comfortably and we shall begin. We'll start with Bachmann, who made their summer 2025 announcements, and unfortunately there was once again nothing new tooled to reveal in 00 scale. They'd already blown all of their new announcements previously before the announcement, meaning that there was nothing truly new to talk about. However, just before Bachmann's summer 25 announcements, they did make a major new announcement, an exciting new announcement. I say exciting, it's a brand new Class 66. All new tools, all singing, all dancing. They're doing it and it seems as though they're quite a long way through the project. Now, right off the bat, I am not going to say anything bad about the way these models look. Bachmann obviously are more than capable of producing a fantastic new tooled Class 66, and from what they've revealed, the models look fantastic, nice and modern, they've got some excellent features. It looks like it's going to be a cracking model. However, looking at the comments online, generally this announcement has not been met with much enthusiasm, and I have to say I kind of feel the same way. It's difficult to get excited about yet another Class 66. Obviously Hattons did theirs a handful of years ago. Just a matter of months ago, Scale released theirs, their brand new updated version, which was a pretty darn good model. So the Class 66 has been done recently and been done well recently. And now Bachmann comes out and announces yet another new Class 66. And who's been asking for this, really? I personally have not seen hordes of modelers clamouring for a new Class 66, so yeah, a bit strange. Plus, even though Scale have more recently upped the price of their third batch of Class 66s, theirs is still much cheaper than Bachmann's. Bachmann's RRP is £229.95 for the DCC ready version, and at the retailers it's £195.45. So they've not even been able to compete with Scale on price. Plus, some of Bachmann's more premium features are locked away behind the sound-fitted deluxe version, so if you wanted to get the auto uncouplers, you've got to pay well over £300 at the retailers. So why bother? What was the point in Bachmann investing all of this money into a brand new Class 66 that has already thoroughly been done? Well, looking at Bachmann's project, it's clear that it's been underway for a good long time. The project seems to be nearing its completion. It's quite possible that Bachmann didn't know that Scale had acquired the rights to the tooling, the Hattons tooling, and were planning to do a new batch of it. But there's also a clue on their YouTube channel. When asked by a user, why are you doing another Class 66? The response did include a bit of a clue. It opened with, "We have been making Class 66s for nearly 20 years, long before anyone else. It is a staple item of our range and we have been working on this retool for quite some time now." Which to me reads like Bachmann are trying to defend their territory here. You know, the Class 66 is ours and we want it to stay that way. Which is a strange approach because I can assure you customers don't think of models in that way. If they can get a decent tooling of a model that's been done well, it doesn't matter who's produced it, nobody cares. If it's a good model, that's all that matters. But whether they're defending territory or not, whether this duplication is deliberate or not, there's no denying that a lot of Bachmann's new locomotive announcements in 00 have been suspiciously similar to Scale's. Bachmann announced their Class 31 in February 2024, 2 years after Scale announced theirs. In July 2022, Bachmann announced their new Class 37, 3 years after Scale announced theirs. And now Bachmann announced a new Class 66 in April 2025, 2 years after Scale announced theirs. So I don't know if Bachmann are doing this on purpose or not, but they do seem to have become Scale's echo, don't they? Just a couple of steps behind, of course, and clearly the optics of that aren't great. So I would say it's time for Bachmann to do something a bit less predictable, do something that's not already being done, and try to compete that way. Because after all, another Class 66 is not giving customers more choice, contrary to what people might say. It's not giving customers more choice than if Bachmann invested that money into something new that wasn't already being done. Now, it may just be that Bachmann are trying to work their way through the staple diesel locos, regardless of what other manufacturers are doing. But it's time Bachmann realised that Accurascale quite clearly are doing the same thing, and they're able to move a lot faster than Bachmann are. So Bachmann have to choose now between remaining Accurascale's more expensive shadow, or thinking outside the box and doing something a little bit different. Having said that, this new Class 66 does look fantastic, if largely similar to the Accurascale model. It's got a full suite of tooling variations, allowing them to produce almost all of the different Class 66 variants. Mechanically, they're going to have 5-pole motors with dual flywheels, all-wheel drive, all-wheel pickup, separate bearings, metal gearboxes, which is interesting. I don't know whether that means the gears themselves are going to be metal, only time will tell on that. The deluxe version has the auto-release couplings, of course, plus all models are going to have a full wealth of separate details, some of them made from metal. It's going to have the rotating axle boxes, of course, etched grills, sprung buffers, detailed cab interiors, and a full suite of lighting, including lighting on the ends, cab lighting, and even machine room lighting, which, to be honest, is the only major feature, I guess, besides the auto uncouplers that I noticed wasn't on the Accurascale model. So yeah, maybe that's one to cling on to. All models have speakers pre-fitted as well, which is useful, and the sound-fitted models feature 2 speakers, which is good for quality sound, and they've also got a stay alive system built in. The announced liveries look fantastic as well, and this includes the EWS livery. There's various Freightliner liveries as well, a couple of different ones, including the greens, of course, the classic, and also an orange. There's the GBRF livery, the Colas Rail Freight livery, and the DRS Compass liveries, just to begin with, of course. Presumably there will be more in the future. So how do you feel about this new Class 66? Do you think there's enough room for improvement over the Accurascale model to justify another brand new one so soon? Or do you wish they'd done something else? Do comment down below and let me know. Anyway, there was a few other updates as part of Bachmann's summer announcements. They posted some liveries of the new LMS 20-ton brake vans, which ironically were recently done by Hornby too. But these models do look excellent, as you'd fully expect from Bachmann. They do a grand job of decoration, after all. Each livery looks to be expertly applied, and of course the liveries bring out the details as well, which also look very convincing and realistic. There's some new batches of existing models coming back, including the aging LNER K3, which is back at a surprisingly high price of £152.95 at the retailers, which I have to say seems frightfully expensive for a model that doesn't appear to have been substantially upgraded. Looking at the photos, there's no wiring going between loco and the tender, so that tells us the DCC socket is still in the loco, and there's no connection to the tender for tender pickups or anything. The write-up still says that this has a 3-pole motor, as it used to, and there's no mention of any other improvements either. So I hope they've not produced too many of these, because over 150 quid for a model as basic as this seems very silly. Hopefully I'll be proved wrong when these come out and they've been massively upgraded. Let's see if I've got a hat somewhere that I can eat if that happens. Anyway, there was also a large wealth of rolling stock returning to the range. If you're interested in this or anything else, I'll pop some affiliate links down in the description for you. Up next then, I want to say a really big thank you for all of the support on the newly released Sam's Trains Era 1 wagons. This included the Liverpool and Manchester bandwagons, which were complete with fully painted figures and that gold leaf effect on the sides. Plus the super detailed goods train pack complete with loads, magnetic NEM pockets, and fully compatible with the chain coupling system as well. Finally, of course, there was the more affordable and simpler Era 1 train pack, which was designed to add variety to existing Era 1 trains. The reviews are in and they've received 5 stars across the board, which is really, really lovely to see. In terms of sales, the more affordable set has sold out entirely, unfortunately. Apologies for that. The more premium pack, over 70% of those have sold, and over 90% of the bandwagons have sold. So there's just a few of these left. If you're interested in picking some of these up and you haven't already, they're still there for the time being. So links down in the description. And once again, thank you so much for making this a success if you did pick up a pack. It does a lot for the channel and I really appreciate it. And there will be more in the future. So keep those suggestions coming if you've got more ideas on what you'd like to see next. Up next then, some very big news from Heljan. Now back in 2022, Heljan officially withdrew their plans to produce TT models after Hornby managed to duplicate every one of their announcements, effectively snuffing them out. Well, here we are in 2025, just less than 3 years later, and Heljan have announced that they are back in the TT120 game. They're trying again with two new locomotives. These are the TT Class 55 Deltic and a Class 122 bubble car, single car DMU. Let's jump into the Deltic first then. So they've announced just a couple of different liveries, but with lots of variation in terms of the names and numbers, etc. 6 of which are exclusive to Rails as well, so lots to choose from overall. Speaking of Rails, Rails posted a video showing engineering prototypes running, and if you were at the NEC the other weekend, you will have had the opportunity to see these running for yourselves as well. And the models feature separately fitted grills, wire handrails, and a wealth of other details. Mechanically, they run on coreless motors apparently, which is quite sensible for TT scale. I'm surprised we've not seen more of this already, to be honest with you. Plus they'll have pre-fitted speakers, which again is useful, and a full lighting package. Both of these new locos from Heljan will feature the E24 DCC decoder interface, and this has had a very mixed reaction, and I have to say I'm not really convinced that this was the right move right now in such a new and flourishing scale. So the advantage of this new interface is that it supports a lot more decoder functions than the Next 18-pin does, but the downside is that the vast majority of the TT120 models so far have all been designed with Next 18-pin DCC sockets, possibly some 6-pin was it, and all of them designed to work with Hornby's HM7000 system. And as a result of that, TT120 has become a very HM7000 centric scale. Well, there is no HM7000 E24 decoder, nor has there been one announced at the moment either. And hopefully that's going to change before these models come out, otherwise there's going to be a compatibility issue there, isn't there? No word from Hornby on that yet. This model is also extremely expensive, so right now if you pre-order it, it's costing £189.99. That is for the more expensive exclusive model, with the prices set to increase to £199.99 in December. That will make this tiny little TT locomotive more expensive than Bachmann's brand new Class 66. Wow, talk about putting pressure on yourselves, Heljan. And of course, compared with Hornby's TT offerings, the Class 66 for example, which is similar in size, that costs £129.95. The general release price is better with the discount at £161.49, but that's still over £30 more than your typical Hornby TT diesel loco. So in TT scale, just as they do in 00, we have Heljan pricing themselves considerably higher than other similar models. So I'm quite curious to see what this means. Does this mean Heljan are going to be offering much more than the likes of Hornby are in their TT locos? So have we got something really truly incredible to look forward to? Or is it going to be more like some of their 00 models where, yes, it's much more expensive, but you don't really get any more for your money. In fact, in some cases, at least in 00, you get significantly less, don't you? So yeah, curious to see what this extra 60, or come December, extra £70 might mean. If you've got some thoughts on that, please pop them down in the comments. The Class 122 has similar specs. There's hundreds of separately fitted detail parts apparently, which seems quite a lot, multiple hundred. Blimey. It's going to have a fully detailed interior with seating and cab detail. Again, fascinated to see that at such a small scale. Hopefully, again, given these prices, we're going to see this done to the same standard as in 00 scale. We've also got the full lighting package and that same E24 decoder socket, plus a coreless motor. Price-wise, we're looking at the same prices as the Deltic, so £161.49 general release, or £189.99 for the undiscounted Rails exclusive. Whichever price you're looking at though, this is more expensive than Bachmann's Class 121 bubble car in 00 scale. So this really puts the pressure onto Heljan to produce something better than Bachmann did, but in the much smaller scale. That's going to be tricky. I think overall though, this is fantastic news for TT. It's just what the scale and Hornby needs. Two brand new locos not being done already. Both diesels, that's going to add to the diesel offering quite a lot. Yeah, it's very, very good. And it is exciting, don't get me wrong, but I also think there's a lot to prove here. There's a lot for Heljan to prove, particularly given their track record with 00 locomotives. So trying to keep a lid on things for now, I think we need to wait and see how this develops, because there's going to be no room for Heljan to under-deliver on these models, as they have with some of their efforts in 00 scale. The other question is, what about Hornby? Do we think Hornby is going to come out of the woodwork again and duplicate these announcements? Well, I think probably not. I suspect Hornby have learned their lesson since 2022. They've learned that they can't do TT on their own, and the more manufacturers that jump on board, the more likely TT120 is to succeed. So I suspect we're going to see a different handling of this by Hornby. Will we see a Hornby Deltic or a Hornby bubble car announced anytime soon? Probably not, but we shall see. Speaking of Heljan's 00 models, they've shared decorated samples of their new LNER U1 Heljan Garratt. I should stress these are just samples, they're not necessarily a reflection of the final release, but be that as it may, these look absolutely stunning. I mean, the paint jobs are on point, aren't they? They really do look fantastic. And there's also clearly a lot of improvements over their LMS Garratt. The axles look much better and more premium, the fit of the parts looks a lot sharper, and the paint finish I think looks better as well. It is a pity that these cost up to £399, as I would have loved this grey one, although the other liveries are a little more reasonable, as you can see, but still quite a lot of money. If you are interested in any of these models though, if you'd like to place pre-orders, I'll pop some affiliate links down below for you. Up next then, some decorated sample photos of some of KR Models' upcoming locomotives have been doing the rounds on social media, with mixed results I would say. We'll start with the first one, the Hunslet Bobo. This one actually looks pretty decent, doesn't it? It looks to be well assembled, can't see any wheels dropping off, which is going to be a bonus I think. Yeah, decent looking model, very curious to see how these turn out. Next we have Big Bertha, which is, shall we say, considerably less impressive. I don't know why they're using such terrible quality photos in this day and age. Makes me wonder if they're hiding something, which is probably unfair. So yeah, next time KR Models, let's have some photos taken on a device produced this millennium, shall we? It's not a good look. Also not a good look is the fact that the loco is very clearly derailed. Are you telling me you couldn't keep the wheels on the track long enough to take a single photo, KR Models? Again, after the bullied leader, that's not a great look either, is it? I've also seen comments saying the model looks a bit toy-like, and I have to agree with that. There's something about it that isn't screaming quality at the moment. I don't know if it's those plasticky looking safety valves with a strange finish on them, plus the bunch of multicoloured wires connecting to the tender. They haven't been fixed yet. So it seems like there's a long way to go on Big Bertha, quite frankly, before this starts to look like a £220 model. Again, this is just a sample. Hopefully it's still subject to change. Hopefully the final release will not look like this. Lots of work to do. There's also a shot of the Bellerophon. Again, such a poor quality photo, it's really hard to glean any real information from this. But I can say the chimney looks pretty good. That looks like a real copper top. So that's quality, very, very good. And I think the finish of the loco itself, at least in this shot, looks to be better. That's quite decent. Doesn't look too glossy. Otherwise though, unfortunately, the quality of the photo here is too poor to really take anything from. So hopefully better photos of these soon. Hopefully the poor quality photos are not an omen for poor quality locos. It's possible, let's say that, it's possible after what's happened in the past, but you have to remain hopeful, don't you? Especially if you're like me and you've got hundreds of pounds tied up in some of these locos. never again, but what's done is done. Anyway, let's move on. Up next then, this is another announcement I did not see coming. Clark Railworks has announced another brand new model in 00 scale. This time it's the very unusual demountable tank wagon, which is quite literally a flat wagon which can have the tank loaded and unloaded from it as required. As you can see by the listings here, the first run will see all of the tanks in red, but they've announced quite a range of them, with many models having different detail variations. They're going to have a die-cast chassis, which sounds quality. The tank loads are going to be removable, which is good. They've got sprung buffers, again, very premium feature, and Ultraflex buffer beam pipes, which allows them to negotiate second radius curves, presumably while still connected. Now, that doesn't sound like much, but I don't think I've seen that before, have I? No, don't think so, at least not in 00, I have in O scale, so we could be looking at a bit of an innovation there, potentially. The price though is £40 each, which once again from Clark Railworks seems like a hefty price tag for such a small model. Of course though, you've got to bear in mind Clark Railworks does sort of aim towards a more premium end of the market. That's what they've done before, so I think the same thing goes with this. High quality, high detail at a high price, and hopefully this works. It is unclear though whether this strategy worked for the Lomac wagons though. There's still good availability on I think all of these models 7 months after they were released, whereas the cheaper Rapido Lomac sold out immediately and hasn't been available since. However, this is obviously a little bit different because there isn't a cheaper version of these demountable tanks also available at the same time, at least not as far as we know. That'd be some bad luck, wouldn't it? So yeah, I think this could be different this time. There's not as much competition for these. Hopefully the higher price of these models won't turn too many people away. And personally, I'm feeling a little bit mixed on these really. Obviously, I'm quite disappointed by the price, but I'm also very excited by the wagon because they look fantastic. I think they're delightfully unusual looking, and it's clear from the photos that they've been done very, very nicely. So we'll have to see. If you want to check these out, affiliate links down in the description. Up next then, a very exciting update from Dapol, and it's with regards to a locomotive that I think I am possibly the most excited about of all of the other locomotives on the way. It is of course their 517 class, Great Western, and it's the first lot of decorated samples. Look at these, absolutely stunning. This is the Great Western green with the red frames. That one looks fantastic. Few things to point out: electroplated brasswork. That looks so good and realistic. Looks like it's got a real copper chimney as well, which I like. What a truly stunning livery this is. There's also the Great Western lined chocolate. How odd is that? Have we ever seen a loco in this livery before? In 00 at least, I don't know. Note the different cab. Again, that points to the tooling variations, enclosed at the back this time. A beautiful, beautiful loco. Then we've got the plain unlined green. Again, how smart does this look? Very smart with all the metalwork, including the window frames, and of course lots more besides. So like I say, I think this might be the loco project that I'm most excited about. And the prices seem very, very fair for such an intricate and ornately painted little loco. The retailer price is £119. You can pre-order them right now at that price, which does sound like outstanding value at this point, doesn't it? They say that production is supposed to start in August, and they're expecting to have the locos ready before the end of the year. Now, the end of the year is a very long way away. Often things do change and things go wrong and things are delayed. It's very possible that that will happen, but it's also possible that we'll get these models before Christmas, which is exciting as heck. So once again, one to look out for. Don't know what the next update will be, but it could be just a few months away from being in our hands. That is great. The next bit of news from Rapido is unsurprising, but still exciting. They've announced yet another new model. This time it's another brand new brake van known as the LNWR Crystal Palace brake van, which is a fascinating looking van, isn't it? Because it's only got the one veranda. Now this was quite a numerous brake van for the LNWR, with over 500 being built in total. And they were not only restricted to the LNWR2, they passed into LMS ownership following the grouping, and some of them even into BR ownership following nationalisation. So should be another versatile model really. And it certainly looks versatile with this range of liveries on offer. Loads of different ones to choose from, ranging from the LNWR, of course. There's some LMS ones on there, some BR liveries as well, which is good, plus some lesser seen liveries. I mean, this one really does it for me. This is the LNWR All Mining branch livery. Red and white, very strange. Then there's the Longmore military version, pleased to see that. There's a National Coalboard one, and even a BR departmental one, plus more, so lots to see in terms of livery. Spec-wise, this seems to be up to Rapido's usual standards. This includes fully detailed interiors, tooling variations for the different models, that's good to see, the usual metal bearings of course, NEM pockets, and even customisable lamps. Interested to see what that entails. The RRP is £46.95, so quite a lot, or £39.90 at the retailers, the same price as the previously announced Great Central brake van. Affiliate links below if you'd like to try one of these. Finally then, an update from Hornby, who made a surprise announcement just a few weeks ago. This was in honour of VE Day, and they've announced new batches of classic Big Four locomotives, but in wartime black liveries. For the LMS, they've announced the streamlined Coronation class City of Liverpool, which looks really stunning in the black actually, and only £170.99 at the retailers, which doesn't seem too bad compared with some of the others at least. For the Southern Railway, we've got the Merchant Navy class. This is Shaw Savile. I also love the look of this in the black, so that's a good one. £215.99 at the retailers though, which seems a little bit steep. Let's not forget these plain black liveries should be quite inexpensive to produce. And there's two left, so what are we thinking? One for the LNER and one for the Great Western, right? You know where this is going if you saw the announcements. Wrong! Two for the LNER, so this is A4 Sir Ralph Wedgwood at £196.19 at the retailers, and A3 Flying Scotsman in its wartime livery at £251.99. Goodness gracious me. So by the looks of it, the Great Western has been left out of the VE Day commemorations. And looking at the comments, there's a lot of people rightfully quite confused and upset about this. And I've seen some speculation as to why this might be. I've seen it said that the Great Western Railway didn't have a wartime black livery, which they did. They did have one, but even if they didn't, you know, fictitious what-if liveries, these have always sold quite well, and one of those would have been nice, you know, so that the Great Western modelers aren't left out from this range. But yeah, Great Western Wartime Black was a thing, and it could have been done. They could have used their Hall class. That would have made a nice, affordable VE Day model for Hornby to do, and I don't think they've ever done that in the black before, so that would have been nice. They could have done the Star class, of course. I know that was painted into black at some point. Or for a more affordable model, they could have just done their railroad pannier tank. That would have looked nice in wartime colours. So why they've done two LNER and no Great Western, I don't know. Obviously LNER is very popular, but so is Great Western. I don't know. It's confusing. I'm not sure why they'd do that. Also, to celebrate another anniversary, that's 90 years since the first LNER Gresley A4 was built, they've announced some new Hornby 00 A4s, including Silver Link, the first of the class. And these new models are in that original silver livery, which I do love very much. Now these are Hornby 00 models, so they're die-cast, and they're extremely expensive at £320.99 RRP or £288.89 at the retailers. Sure is a fancy livery and that looks fantastic, but why would you make them all Hornby 00 models, Hornby? I'm sure people who aren't looking to drop £300 for a locomotive would also like to own a silver A4 in their collection. But no, for some reason they're all Hornby 00 models, which again seems to be missing out. That means I, for one, will not be buying one. Finally, a somewhat less grand announcement, but no less important, they've added to their range of 00 salmon wagons with a couple of BR departmental variations, including this yellow one. Look at this, with the crane attached to it. Now, they've not revealed this tooling variation before, I don't think. This is the first time I've seen one of these with the crane attached. And I think that's awesome to see. It transforms the model and gives it almost a completely different purpose, doesn't it? And it only costs a couple of pounds more for the extra crane as well. At the retailers, £44.99 or £42.29 for the standard model without the cranes. Ooh, quite tempted by the cranes, actually. Well, my voice hurts now and I'm very tired, so thanks for that, industry. So much to see this month though, so much to talk about. Some of it it's kind of up in the air really, isn't it? We don't know how some of these are going to go. The Class 66, Heljan's TT stuff, the new demountable tanks from Clark Railworks. Yeah, a lot of interesting projects that I'm really curious to see how they're going to develop. But anyway, hopefully I've covered more or less everything there. Usually there's one or two minor things I've not been able to cover, but if you notice something missing and you thought it deserved a mention, please do comment down below and let me know. For now though, thank you ever so much for watching, and I'll see you again very, very soon for some more videos. Alright, take care folks. I'll see you on the next one. Oh, don't wing. Oh.